thanks for checking out this video. For a full list of materials used in this project, head down to the description below and click on Show More. So we have a pretty simple list of ingredients for this bracelet. I'm going to start with this chain bracelet here. And it's just a chain bracelet that has a lobster clasp already attached to one end, and it's about 8 inches. So it's going to be long enough to accommodate most wrists. If you need it a little bit longer, you can of course always attach some jump rings to the end or add a little link, but 8 inches is usually about the longest that you need, and you can always cut it shorter. And then of course I've got my gemstones for my planets. I did use 9 planets here, so I did include Pluto here at the end. So depending on the current consensus and whether or not Pluto is a planet or not, you can include him or not. But fortunately, the way that we're going to do these little charms, when the scientists decide that he is no longer a planet, we can simply remove him. And now we have also at the beginning here a large hematite bead that I chose. And this is a hematite bead that's plated, so it's very shiny and gold, which I thought was really fun for the sun. And of course I've got the rest of my planets in here. I have Jupiter here, which is pretty large, and then I have Saturn, which I put a halo bead around, one of our Potomac halo beads. And this halo bead is actually made to fit any like 6mm round bead. There's also 2-hole halos which will fit a disc duo. I of course chose the single hole, lined up the hole with the hole in the bead, and just strung those together on my head pin. So this is a very simple project, like I said, not a lot of materials, but such a fun, great project. So I'm just going to give you guys a refresher if you don't already know how to do the little charms here. You may want to check out some other beginning wire working videos, but I am going to walk you through how to make them. So you're going to need a few simple tools here. We have flat nose pliers, which are just flat on the inside, or sometimes needle nose. Flat nose pliers will sometimes be wider at the end. These are technically needle nose, but sometimes we'll kind of call them interchangeably. And then I have some round nose pliers, which are again tapered like the needle nose pliers here. And they're just rounded, each jaw here is rounded like an elongated cone. And then I have some cutters, of course, because I'm going to need to trim my extra wire off my head pin. So those are the 3 basic tools that you need. And if you've done any kind of jewelry making before, you probably already have all of those. So we're going to start here by simply just putting our bead on the head pin. And of course the head pin has a stopper at one end, so your bead doesn't fall off. We're going to start here with our needle nose or flat nose, whichever one you have. And we're simply going to grip the wire that's coming out beyond the bead and just turn it to the side. We want to turn it so that we have a right angle here. So it's kind of sticking out to the side like a little arm. Then we're going to grab our round nose pliers. And the round nose pliers, of course, they have 2 jaws here, and both jaws are the exact same. They're both these elongated cones. I'm going to grip as close to the bend as I can in the wire, but I want to make sure that I am gripping this long piece of wire. I shouldn't be able to grip any wire right above the bead because I shouldn't have that much wire coming out above the bead. My bend should be very close to that bead. So I've got my jaws of my round nose, gripping as close to the bend as I can, but make sure that you are gripping that long piece. I'm going to take this long piece of wire and just simply take it up and around the jaw of my plier here, the top jaw. And I'm going to take it around as far as I can until you see I start to kind of hit my bead here. And at that point, I can stop. And what I want to do is move the loop that I'm forming with this head pin here. I want to move this from the top jaw to the bottom jaw. So you can do that either by just simply flipping your pliers, or you can take your pliers out and then go to the bottom jaw here and just take that loop that's forming and put that on the bottom jaw. And you just want to hold that about the same place that you did on the top jaw here, because you don't want to change the size of the loop that you're making. If you want to be consistent in the size of the loop that you're making, make just a little mark with some Sharpie marker or a little pencil, something that is just going to show up on this metal. Make a little mark, and then you'll know that that is where you want to hold your head pin when you make a loop. Smaller loops will be made at the end of the wire or end of the jaws here, and larger loops will be made at the back here. You can see that this is thinner, and of course the cone shape here gets wider at the base. So now that we are at the bottom jaw, we're going to take this wire and we're going to continue to wrap around the bottom jaw. It's about 1/4 of a turn. And so you're going to see that the wire, once it goes under the jaw, but on top of the bead, and you pull that off, you're going to end up with something like this. It may look a little funny at first, and that's okay. We can definitely straighten it out a little bit. So you have essentially just added a little loop right above your bead. We're going to take our the flat side of our cutters here. So you'll see there's a side that you can kind of put your finger in, although I wouldn't recommend it because they are sharp, but there's a side that has kind of like a divot in it, and then there's a flat flush side. So you always want this flat flush side facing your project. The wire that you are going to discard will be coming out of this side here with that V divot cut into it. We're going to take our cutters here and just get in as close as we can. We're cutting off all the extra wire here beyond the loop itself. So beyond the loop, we're just going to grip that extra wire, give it a little cut. And you'll see here that all I've done is remove any extra wire that wasn't needed to complete that little circle or loop of wire. Now I'm going to take my needle nose pliers back again, and I can use this to kind of straighten out my loop. I can grip it and I can make sure that it's centered on my bead. So go ahead and do that for all of your charms here. And then we'll go ahead and lay this out in the order that we need to in order to accurately represent our solar system. Now that I have all of my planets completed and they're all made into little charms, I'm going to go ahead and just start adding them to my bracelet. I'm going to use my needle nose pliers for this. I'm going to go ahead and start with my sun. So to do this, all I have to do is at the top where I made that loop, I'm going to find the side where I trimmed and I cut my wire off, and I'm just going to simply lift that up a little bit. So it's sort of like a slinky coming undone, like pulling out a slinky. You don't want to disturb the shape of the circle. You just want to lift the one side up a little bit. And then that will allow you to just loop it onto one of those chains wherever you want to add that. And then we're going to take our needle nose and close that up again. and our first charm is added. So I'm going to go about anywhere between 3 to 5 beads or links apart. It will also depend if you have a different size chain that I'm using, and if you want to have them evenly spaced, or if you want to take a look at some solar system maps and maybe space them out differently depending on where you think they really belong. I'm going to just evenly space them about 3 or 4 links apart. So here's my second one. And again, I'm just going to find that end where it's cut, lift it gently, and go down about 3 or 4 links here. Put that in where I want to attach it, and just close that up and make sure that that loop here at the top is flat. So I'm going to continue in this manner until I've got all my charms on. Here I have my complete finished solar system bracelet, and I think I did a pretty good job of getting my beads centered on the bracelet itself. So you can see when I put this on, I'm going to have lovely planets and beautiful gemstones dancing around my wrist here. So here you go. Here is the finished solar system bracelet. Perfect for anybody who loves gemstones, especially if they're really into astronomy or astrology. And there you go. And you always have a nice little handy reference which order our planets are in. If you enjoyed this video, please comment below and let us know your thoughts. You can also subscribe to our channel to be notified as soon as we have more beading tutorials out that you will enjoy probably just as much as you enjoyed this one.